Hello, Mountain Families. This week on Community Chat, I'm talking with my good friend Terri, who is the owner of Begin Again Ranch. Now, I looked into this thought concept of having therapies through working with horses as a great means for my brain injury clients. Again, they're very textile in nature, and so working with horses, being more physical and textile in activities has really helped them be able to not only tell their story, but also to adapt to their new life. So I started looking into this and I found Terri's company, which is a phenomenal company, Begin Again Ranch. I would highly recommend it to anybody. And learning about her journey is exactly why I want to recommend her, is because this isn't just a company to her. It really ties into her journey and her mission and her values. So thank you, Terri, for being here. We're so excited to hear all about Begin Again Ranch.
Thank you for having me, Caitlin. This is it's an honor to be here and to talk to your audience. I started Begin Again Ranch about 13 years ago. I myself am a traumatic brain injury recovery survivor, thriver, and what I found during my own recovery journey was the neurodocs gave me a prognosis of 0 to 10, 10 being phenomenal genius and 0 being, an amoeba. Before the brain injury, I was probably at a, normal 6 or 7. After the brain injury, I was at a 2. And after about 2 years of rehab, they would probably say I might get back to a 5. And I wouldn't accept that. I thought that was crap. And what I found was that I gave myself permission to adjust my own attitude. So if I had taken their prognosis, I would be sitting on the couch doing nothing because they told me I was broken. And are you different? Absolutely. But that doesn't mean that you're broken. We're dented, but we're not broken. And what I do working with my clients is we figure out how to get around or repair the broken. And for me, what that meant was, I was in ICU for 3 weeks in a coma. I was in a rehab hospital for 4 weeks. Then I was in a transitional living center for 4 weeks. And when I finally got home and felt strong enough to go up to my barn where I had boarded my horses, I would go up there just to do some work, just to get some physical activity, get out of the house. And I would try to saddle my horse. And at a boarding facility, you've got so much going around you. There's a lot going on. And she would take it upon herself to be a moving target. And that wasn't to annoy me. That was to give me the opportunity to work on my eye-hand coordination, because multitasking was no longer one of my strong suits. So she and I worked on that together. And knowing how much that my horses helped me, at the time I was able to complete my Equine Gestalt coaching program. And my husband and I moved from California to 6 acres here in Sedalia in Colorado. And my philosophy has always been, no matter what you're going through, it's always your choice to close your eyes, take a deep breath, smile, and begin again, no matter how many times you need to start over. Mm-hmm. And that's what I did with my own recovery process, and that's what I help my clients do.
I think that's fantastic, and it's really this opportunity, and it stems from this. People that I work with that have traumatic brain injuries inevitably need to tell the story of what they're going through. That's why they hire me, is to be able to tell the story of the delta deficit of who they were before and who they are now. And I noticed that it was very difficult for them to talk about who they were before, what they're going through. But when I gave them something to hold, when they started doing an adult coloring book, if they played with a Rubik's Cube, they were able to talk more. And it was a very tactile nature of it. And I know there's that it's one of the notions of your training is get out, take care of the horse, experience it, and they recover that way. So I would love for you to talk about what is it like to be a client of yours? What does someone going through, and I know we're talking about traumatic brain injuries, and that's not necessarily all that you deal with. You help so many people. That just happens to be my specialty, and you're obviously someone that dealt with that. But what is it like to be a client of yours?
To be a client of mine is, first of all, I meet you where you are, and if something is not working, I don't say it's never going to work. I say, okay, let's figure out how we can make it work again, because a lot of times, I'm not a neuroscientist or anything, but I truly believe that if you give the brain enough time to reweave your neural pathways, you'll be able to figure out how to do something again. So working with the horses, it's usually myself and my client in a round pen with 2 or 3 horses, and the horses interact with the clients as they need to. So, for instance, I was working with a client who was having a lot of trouble with her balance, and that was what her brain injury was manifesting. And I had her walk around the round pen just to see how she was doing today, so I knew how to adjust the activities that I was going to have her do. And as she got to a muddy spot, my horse, who had been walking with her, stepped up, put his head down so she could grab onto his mane, and he walked her through the mud and took care of her. And then they kept going. So I asked her, how was that? She said, well, he was really taking care of me. My balance was a little bit off in the mud. I said, okay, keep walking. They kept walking. Before they got anywhere near the mud, the horse stepped in front of her and stopped her from moving forward. And I said, okay, is this the same thing? And she said, no, he's not protecting me. He's keeping me from moving forward. I said, okay. So now that you've had this traumatic brain injury, what is it that you're telling yourself that's keeping you from moving forward? And she got quiet for a moment, and she got, teary and sniffly, and she says, that's exactly what I'm doing. I said, all right. So you have an obstacle in your path. What are you going to do? I didn't tell her. I didn't teach her how to do anything. So she put her 2 hands on the horse's on her shoulder, and she pushed him out of the way. 1,100 pounds. She pushed him out of the way, and she kept on walking. So the horses are not specially trained. They bring to the client what the client needs, and it's my expertise that interprets what's going on.
I think that's fantastic. And before we leave, I really want to be able to have you share some training tidbit for the community. And it could be on anything. It could be the general concept of working with horses if you're having any kind of mental dysfunction, emotional regularity, anything like that, or something specifically you've learned from one of your clients. Just please share anything to us.
One of the things that I've learned in dealing with not only my clients, but also my clients' caregivers, is the frustration that both the client and the caregiver have. The client from the aspect of there is no outward appearance that you're struggling. It's not like you broke an arm, or maybe you did, but in this case with the brain injury, you didn't break an arm, you don't have a cast, you don't have, everything is internal, but you're still struggling. And you don't want your caregiver to help you or to do it. They don't want you to do it for them. The client wants the caregiver to give them the time and the space and the support to figure out how to do it. So what I do is I work with both the client and the caregiver to understand where each one is coming from. And from a caregiver standpoint, I give them more of an understanding of what their loved one is going through and how frustrating it is for them. And there are some times, I know with myself, my husband, when he was dealing with my injury, he would say sometimes my filter was way up too high and sometimes my filter was not there at all. So I would either underreact or overreact. So he had to make sure that he would say, honey, this is a joke, and then tell me what it was, because he didn't know if I was going to take it personally or if it was, I was going to get the joke. So I like to work with both the client and the caregivers to give them more of an understanding. And a tidbit for the caregivers is just don't do it for your loved one. But you can say, it looks like you're being frustrated in whatever activity you're doing. How can I support you? What do you need from me? Instead of saying, oh, just give it to me, I'll do it. No, they don't want you to do it. It's going to take them a little bit longer to figure it out. And I'm 10 years post injury, and every once in a while there's still a glitch in the matrix. It's like, I have no idea what I'm doing. And that's okay. But give yourself permission. And for the client, if you can have the attitude, when I ran into obstacles myself, I did get frustrated, and sure, you have breakdowns. But most of the time it was like, wow, that didn't work. What can I do differently to make that work? So if you shift your attitude and just say, okay, that didn't work. Not the end of the world. Let's figure out how it can work. And just going forward, if you make that little shift and give yourself permission to have a glitch in the matrix, it's okay.
Well, I think that's fantastic. And I am going to include all your contact information, obviously, in the show notes. But talk to us about the ranch. I mean, this is something to share with the entire community. Tell us a little bit more. Is it only for people that live nearby? Is there anything that someone can come for the weekend? Or just talk about how people in the community, Colorado-wide, could utilize your services.
Yeah, thank you. It's a 6-acre ranch. There is it's my home. There is I have 4 horses and a mini donkey. So if you're scared of the big ones, we start with the donkey. And I work with not only brain injury survivors, but also so many of us are carrying stories that are keeping us from being our best selves. So what I like to do is I help women and couples unravel those stories. So let's figure out what the story is, and we work with the horses. It's usually an hour session. If you're in the middle of something, I don't, unlike, no offense, but talk therapy, points at the watch and says, okay, we're done. Let's do this again next week. We go until it's safe for you to end the session. And I never know what the horses are going to do, so I can't explain what that's going to look like. And usually I have packages of 3, 6, 9, and 12, depending upon how much therapy you need. And usually it's like once every other week for a few months, because once working with the horses can be so profound that I want the time in between for you to process. And, if you do have a brain injury, it takes longer to process. And during that in-between time, you have full access to me, either phone call or email, and that does not count as one of your sessions. And it's, if you'd like to come out and see what it's like, I do offer a mini session. That's free of charge. You come out for about an hour and you're in with the horse for about a half an hour, just to see what it's like to work with the horses and see if it's a good fit, both for me and for the client. And, just to see what it's like to work with the horses And there's no, we don't get into anything deep. I don't start peeling the onion to see what's underneath, but you get a good sense of what a session is like.
I think that's fantastic. Thank you so much. Again, we'll put everything in the show notes about exactly how you can contact Terri or the Begin Again branch. So thank you so much for being here today.
All right. Thank you very much for this opportunity, Caitlin. I look forward to continuing our relationship.
Thank you.